and welcome to What Women and Men Need to Know. Everyone needs to know today because Patrick Doyle is here. He's with the Lookout Mountain Drug Task Force. Did I say all of that?
Lookout Mountain Judicial Circuit Drug Task Force.
See,
Close
I
enough.
always leave out some, but anyway, he is here today and he's going to bring us up to speed about what is going on, and it is a sad story, but he is going to bring us up to speed about what's going on with drugs in our area. And it's not just our area, it's every area all over the world, I think.
Well, it's more of an American problem than anybody else's. And specifically, I think we're probably going to talk about opiates and opioids today.
And certainly in Georgia. If you think it is not, you need to open your eyes and look around.
Yeah, dangerous times are upon us.
It is, certainly. And I don't know where we started down that bad road, Patrick, but you mentioned a date that might have been a date when we started moving in that direction. I remember when we took an aspirin when we hurt, we had some pain or had a headache.
That's right. We've moved away from simple treatments in the last few years. And
would common sense have anything? Oh, never mind. We don't want to go there.
We never put common sense in any equation.
That's right. But we're going to talk about, Patrick's going to enlighten you about what's going on today. What is the climate like? What is out there? It's not the things that we might have thought. It's not the simple things that we might have answered, how we might have answered that question if we had been answering it.
Right. Normally when people want to know what the state of affairs are for our local drug problem, it's pretty simple. It's been the same for over a decade now. Methamphetamine's number one. Marijuana is probably the most widely used illegal drug. And then, several years ago, we started seeing an increase of prescription pills, mostly just the painkillers. And that has come up to be probably the number 2 problem in Northwest Georgia. It hasn't surpassed methamphetamine in our caseload as far as the number of cases that we pull, but it's running a pretty close second right now.
Really?
And it's getting worse. It's definitely on the increase.
The whole time that I was growing up, I never remember having pain pills in our home.
No, that's true.
I can't remember.
Even me, and I'm not much younger than you are, by the way, but when we went to the dentist, had a root canal or whatever procedure we had, a filling, for the most part, the dentist would just tell you, you're going to be sore for a couple of days and deal with it. Now it's pretty common to get a prescription of hydrocodone just for simple dental procedures now, just in case you start feeling any discomfort. It's overprescription, I think, is what the best term would be. I think we're being overprescribed as a society for painkillers.
Totally. Absolutely. 7712, go ahead with your question.
Hey, Pat.
Hey.
I want to thank you about this house, my mama's house.
Now,
Excuse me?
what happened?
I know y'all went up on 543 Rockford Road.
Uh-huh.
Y'all did a drug task force up there.
Uh-huh.
And my mom wants to thank you for helping her out.
Well, good. I hope things worked out, and of course, if it becomes a problem again, we want to know. We want to make sure that.
Well, she sold the house and she's paid off her taxes, so she's got that all taken care of.
Okay. Well, I'm glad we were able to help, and I hope everything worked out good for her.
Well, I hope you help us over here and get it chaperoned, because it's still going on over here.
Okay. Well, you just let us know when and where, and we'll see if we can take care of it.
Every day? Every evening?
That sounds about right.
Yep.
All right. Well, you keep us up to date on it, and we'll get cracking on it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, caller.
But yes, you know, overprescription, and it's not just a state of Georgia thing. Like we talked about when you opened up, it's nationwide overprescription. We've got some stats here, and of course they're old. It takes a couple of years, at least a year, for the new stats, the newest stats to come out. But just in 2014 alone, there were 240 million prescriptions written for prescription opioids. And that means that basically every man, woman, and child in the United States could have gotten a prescription of opioids in 2014. Now, the 2015, 16, 17 numbers are going to be higher than that.
Absolutely, yeah.
I know the last stats that I saw for the state of Georgia, and I think it was 2015, in the first 6 months alone, there were, I think there were somewhere in the neighborhood of 400 million doses of just one brand of hydrocodone. Just one brand of hydrocodone. Now, put that in perspective, we've got 10 million people roughly in the state of Georgia, so that is a lot. That's a lot. And is it because we all hurt? Are we all in pain? I don't buy that. I think we're being overprescribed, and that's not to say that there's not legitimate doctors out there that are being careful with the prescriptions as they're giving them out. I just think that, well, I do know that there are some doctors out there that give this stuff out freely and without any remorse.
And people who may not have legitimate causes to have that.
Well, that comes with having the
Right.
problem and the need for feeling like you need to take these things on a daily basis.
Right. 7712, go ahead.
Yes. I'm calling about my granddaughter.
Uh-huh.
I want to talk to Patrick about it.
Go ahead.
Last Sunday night is a week ago, when it was raining real hard,
Yes, ma'am?
her and her boyfriend stopped and picked up this cook boy on the side of the road because he was just drowning in that rain.
Uh-huh.
And he asked him if they'd take him to this certain driveway up here on Rampart Road. Said, you don't have to pull down in there. Said, just let me out on the road. And he did. They did. And the police come by, or the county, I don't know which, came by and pulled him over. And they asked them if they had any drugs on them. They explained to him that they had just picked that boy up and was bringing him out there.
Mm-hmm.
And found it being raining. And my granddaughter said, no, sir, I don't do drugs. Said, I'll take a drug test right now for you, sir. Said, I do not do drugs. And said, Joey don't do drugs either. Said, we'd get fired from where we're working if we done drugs. Okay, this boy in the back seat, he was a cook, said, I had never seen them drugs before. They was laying in the floorboard of the back seat.
Uh-huh.
Mm.
And they said, well, if nobody's not going to claim them, said, we're going to have to charge every one of you with it. And Amber started crying and told him, said, sir, I'll lose my job. And Joey told him he would lose his too. And they'd been working at them jobs for way over a year.
Uh-huh.
And so when they got that boy to the jailhouse, they searched him. Amber and her boyfriend didn't have anything. But the boy had bunches of stuff in his pockets. And they charged him. Well, they kept him overnight and up till time for him to go down there to see the judge, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And they told them they could go. They wasn't charged with anything. They could leave. Okay, this week their names come out in the paper and in that busted book. And that's not right. Looks to me like they could rerun that somehow or another and take their names out.
Right. Now, unfortunately, you know, once you're arrested like that, it becomes public record. And the busted paper is they have access to those records, regardless of what the outcome is. That's why, anytime somebody gets arrested, the old saying, they're innocent until proven guilty. And this sounds like an instance where they were arrested, not necessarily falsely. I don't know any of the details of the case other than what you're given now.
Yeah.
But the judge found that there was not probable cause for them to be arrested on those charges and turned them loose on that. So, like I said, it's unfortunate that it is public record once you're arrested, once you're booked. So, hopefully they'll be able to do some damage control with their employers and be able to retain their jobs.
Well, could the employee call the jail and they could tell them that was?
Yeah, the disposition of the judge at the magistrate office, that's probably who they saw for the bond hearing.
That's when it turned them loose.
Okay, and that disposition is also public record.
Yeah.
So whatever the judge rules, then the employer should be able to have access to that.
So they need to talk to the judge about that, right?
Probably, yes, ma'am.
Well, I didn't know. That just hurt me so bad. I said, you don't never know who you're picking up on.
That's right. You got to be careful with charity these days.
Supposedly a friend or not. He wasn't too much of a friend, or he wouldn't have done him like that.
That's right.
Enough to give him a ride out of that rain.
Yes, ma'am.
You know how hard it was raining that Sunday night?
Yes, ma'am, I do. And I tell you what, do you have something to write my number down with?
Yeah, I can get Miss Hen right faced.
I was going to say I can look in that report and possibly get a little more insight on that.
Yeah.
And maybe give you some more direction to go to look for that disposition.
Okay. What's your number?
The Drug Task Force number is 706 638
638
5570.
5570.
Yeah. Rick just flashed it up on the screen for you there.
Yeah, well, I've got it wrote down.
Okay.
And call you?
Yes, ma'am. Give me a day or two to look at it and give me a call, and I should have a little more insight on that.
Well, I'd sure appreciate it, because that kid's just killed. She don't do drugs.
Yes, ma'am.
Drugs. Now, she used to drink alcohol, but she even quit that. Trying to get right. And she's just quit it all, and her boyfriend did too. And then to pick up somebody and then them deny that's not right.
No, that's not right. And hopefully the laundry will get clean on that. We'll try to figure out what's going on, and if there was no criminal act done by your granddaughter or her friend, then I think everything ought to be good.
Well, I think you'll find out that they wasn't nothing against them.
Yes, ma'am. Well, I'll look into it, and I'll see if I can't come up with that disposition, and you give me a call in a day or two, and we'll discuss it.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for your call. That's not the first. People will turn on you because someone else had shared that they had someone in the car and they asked if they would stop by. They needed to stop by and drop something off or pick something up from someone else's house, and they just stayed in the car while they ran in to do that. And they were picking up drugs, and the person in the car was truly innocent and had no part of it or anything, and perhaps they knew, or maybe the police had been watching or whatever, and stopped, and she got the same part of the deal because the person again said those drugs belonged to the person who was in the car, who was the driver of the car, and she didn't have anything to do with it.
That's right. When you take a passenger into your vehicle, you're responsible for basically what they're doing, what they're into.
Yeah.
You're responsible for making sure they're wearing their seatbelt, first and foremost, because that's the law. And then, if they've got any contraband or They talk you into going to a drug dealer's house and buying some, whether or not you know it. It's kind of hard to explain that to law enforcement when you get pulled over. It really is.
Even if
And
you
it
are
isn't-
totally
Even if you
innocent.
are totally innocent, and that's, sometimes it's unfortunate, but sometimes you'll get arrested for it.
Yeah. So be careful who you pick up, let ride in your vehicle, and where you go.
That's right.
If you don't know where you're going.
That's right.
Yeah. So,
I think before we took that last call, we were talking about the prescribing practices.
yes.
And we're talking about the increase of the numbers of opiates and opioids that are being prescribed, and maybe this can add a little insight to that. A few years back, I believe it was 2000, maybe 11, was the first time that accidental overdoses from opioids actually surpassed the amount of people that died in car crashes, and it was within a few hundred or 1,000, but that was the first time that had happened since 1974.
That's kind of
Nothing had ever taken over car crashes, and now, gosh, I think the latest stats were the 2015, 2016. There were approximately, there were 40,200 traffic fatalities from car crashes. And in the same year, there were 52,000 people that died from drug overdoses. So that just shows that number is still increasing, and it's still surpassing car crashes. And I highly suspect that the next couple of years are even going to be higher.
And that's kind of hard to get your head wrapped around, that more people are killed from overdoses from painkillers than die from car crashes.
Yeah.
With the increasing number of cars on the road every day
Right.
that we all experience.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, and like I said, unfortunately, those numbers are going to continue to climb. So.
And Patrick, we were talking a little bit about that pain pill. I'll just call them that instead of calling them, because there are opioids and
Opiates and
right,
a lot of different
all
kinds.
kinds of combinations. But that just seems to be the fix-all for everything. That's just the answer for everything.
It is, and unfortunately, there are people that actually need this stuff
Right.
in the recovery process. But I have always been a proponent of physical therapy, rehabilitation, over masking the pain with the opiates, and I'll continue to be that way. I think if you're just covering up the pain and not treating the root cause of the
Right.
pain, then you're missing the boat. And I think that's irresponsible medical practice. And a good doctor is going to make sure that they get what's causing that pain to go away,
Right.
rather than just hide the pain. The longer that you're on prescription painkillers, the tougher it's going to be for you either not to develop an addiction or to correct the problem that's causing the pain. And that's unfortunate that we see so many people that are on opiates and opioids for long terms, long periods.
And I think part of that is that so many people, and I'm not going to put myself into that group because I am not one of those people. But so many people go to the doctor, whatever kind of doctor that is, and whatever the doctor says, whatever prescription they write or say they're going to write, they never question. They just take that prescription, and if the doctor said take 10 of these pain pills a day, they're going to take them if they can hold their mouth open to get the pill in there.
Right.
Never questioning, because if you have pain, there may be another type of, it may be arthritis pain. There may be an arthritis drug that might be helping, like you said, that root
Right.
cause of the problem more than the pain pill that's just going to be helping that initial pain and not helping to alleviate that root cause of the pain.
Right. And so
There
many
are lots
people.
of pains that can be treated other ways than with
Right.
just the,
So many people have back problems, and that's that's a
common.
very common thing, and for the most part, they would rather mask the pain than have to go through back surgeries. And to an extent, I can understand that, but when your quality of life and your way of life starts getting affected by the pills that you're having to take, then you got to balance it out. What's going to be the lesser of two evils? What is going to help me feel better in the long term? Am I going to just keep popping pills, or am I going to suck it up and go have that back surgery done, or am I going to keep popping pills, or get the rehabilitative physical therapy that I need to fix my shoulder or my hip or whatever's ailing me? That's the question right now that people need to ask themselves. And like you said, if the doctor says you need to take these pills, whether it's a good doctor or one of these doctors that just wants to cover your pain up with, we've all been taught growing up that you trust your doctor. They're very trustworthy people. And, sometimes you've got to question even your doctors these days.
That's right. Because it's your body, no one's going to take care of it better than you.
That's right.
And you're in your body 24/7. That doctor's seeing you 3 minutes.
3 minutes, yeah.
That's maybe 2. So it's just a matter of, like you said, balancing. Do you
Right.
want a drug abuse problem, or do you want to have pain, or can you adjust that a little bit, or can you do something else?
Right,
like
get it
the
fixed.
physical therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Or some type of exercise that will alleviate some of that pain,
Right.
and use something else for the pain, and kind of have something that you can live with, and have something that's not going to be addictive to you. 7712, go ahead with your question.
Hello, I'm sitting here listening to you two, and I don't think either one of you have a clue what you're talking about.
Well,
You're talking about the people that, as if they go to the doctor and all of a sudden they're a drug addict. I've been taking hydrocodone for 8 years. I've got pain, and I'm not masking my pain. I'm making it where I can live a day and get through it. The people you guys are talking about are the ones that are stealing it from somebody, grinding up 7 pills, heating it in a spoon, shooting in their arm, and then they die. That's a totally different person. The grandma fell at Walmart, and she's getting worked on by the doctor. He prescribed her hydrocodone, oxycodone to get through her rehabilitation. And I really hate when I hear the DEA and the people talk about hydrocodone, oxycodone, on how bad they are, when they're talking about the people that, the ones that are misusing it. That's the people you need to be getting on, and that's the people you need to find out the content of their heart, why they're doing that kind of thing.
Hey, I do appreciate you calling in, because
Right.
you are hitting on a very important fact here. There are legitimate uses for this stuff, and I think I said that earlier. There are legitimate patients that take it properly, but there are so many patients that are prescribed this stuff that either don't necessarily need it, or they're being overprescribed, and then they're developing an addiction. I'm not saying at all that everybody that takes this stuff is going to become an addict, but that's where the vast majority of our addicts on the street have come from
And
something that
you
should have been
talked
short
about
term.
the people that smoke pot and then they want to go on to higher drugs. And that's the big thing about the guys that are going out and stealing grandma's hydrocodones are the ones that are smoking pot before they get the hydrocodone.
Oh, I agree.
Those are the guys that are ended up dying. And if they're going to be that stupid to steal drugs, they need to die. And that's a terrible thing to say, but if they're not going to be rehabilitated and they go to those clinics, I've heard people say, well, I'm out of drugs, so I'm going to go to the clinic and get some help. And they go there just to get the drug, whatever they give them at those clinics, to stay high again on the government.
Yeah, absolutely. I see that every day.
So I'm just, I listen to y'all, and I just get aggravated, because I've been doing this for years, because I had back surgery, and it turned out bad. But I got a hernia that I've had dealing with it for 7 years, and I can't get it fixed. it hurts me to bend over and pick. I can't bend over and pick up a pencil.
I understand that, and like I said, I appreciate you calling in because
Right.
you are one of the exceptions to the rule. That what we're seeing right now.
I believe there's lots of people out there like me that are doing the right thing.
Yeah,
And use it like you're supposed to.
I agree, and it does take. I would say, venture to say that you've got a pretty good doctor, and you're
I do.
And
you're
the
doing
two of
things
you work
as you're being
together well.
prescribed. So.
I think a bottle of those things, 30 of them or 60 of them, cost me $13 to $14.
Mm-hmm.
And the people out on the street, they'll buy them for $30 a pill, and it takes 5 or 7 of them for them to get high.
Absolutely. You know, we worked a case not far from the studio here last summer, and a lot of those pills were being sold in excess of $100 each.
Well, I can't. The law needs to be stricter on the people that misabuse them, so people are afraid to mess with them. I've heard there's parties where people go and throw pills in a big old bowl, and they just take them to see what they do to them.
That's a
there needs
fact.
to be such strict laws for people that get caught doing that they don't want the outcome is worse than them getting high. That's what I want to say.
Right. You know, the laws are on the book. It's a matter of getting them enforced and getting them sentenced correctly. You know, so many of these people are getting legitimate prescriptions like yourself and are seeing that as an opportunity to make money. They're not even taking them, they're just selling them in bulk.
That lady that called earlier that said her family got in trouble for hauling somebody around, they had drugs and they didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I pick up hitchhikers every now and then and give them a ride, and after she spoke, I'm not going to ever pick up a hitchhiker again.
Yeah, you see how
My
that
wife will be glad to hear that because she always says they'll jump in the car and kill you.
well,
So,
Well, I understand your frustration, and I do appreciate you calling in and give us your insight this afternoon, or well, it is morning. So, but there again, you're an exception to the rule, and I appreciate it, and I'm
Yes.
proud for you.
yes, and
well, y'all have a good day.
Hope you do too.
Thank you a lot.
thank you for your call, sir. You know, he has a point, but like you say, he's the exception, as I was saying to you earlier about the case I was aware of. She was concerned and wanting to stop taking the pills because she was concerned with the number she had been prescribed, that she was going to become addicted to
Right.
them. And so I think, as you said, he has a good doctor. He realizes just the amount that he's going to need to keep his pain tolerable, and he's a sensible man.
That's called effective pain management.
That's right.
They're managing the pain, and he's not necessarily covering up problems that can be fixed.
Right.
And he's not maintaining an addiction by going to the doctor over and
That's
over and
right.
over, saying that he's got a backache with a fake MRI.
Right.
And
That's
this
the
stuff
way.
that-
That's a case of how it's supposed to work.
Right.
But how often do you see that?
It's rare.
that's-
Well,
it's
if I'm getting called in, it's not because of somebody doing it legitimately. It's
Right,
because somebody's doing
exactly.
something illegal with it. So,
So-
that was a good call. I
Yes,
appreciate
it
him calling.
was, and we appreciate him for sharing that, because it can happen, but it takes some time, no doubt,
It
to
does.
do that.
It does, and I
Also.
think we all know somebody, not all of us, but I know of several people, family members, even friends of mine, former co-workers, that have had a medical problem, and they went for help, and next thing they knew, they were addicted to their pain medications, and they're absolutely, if they're still alive, they're not the people that they used to be.
It changes
so
families, it changes
it does.
individuals, it changes
not all of it
everything.
starts on the street. A lot of it does
That's
start
right.
at the doctor's office, and it's unfortunate.
Right. So we're glad to hear a good
Yep,
call,
Yep.
a good sign.
that's right.
Yes.
But you know, these things are getting more and more dangerous, and because of the black market, the stuff that's not even coming from the pharmaceutical manufacturers. We're getting pills routinely now that are hand pressed to look like legitimate prescription pills, but they're not. They've actually got fentanyl, which is very, very deadly in very, very small amounts, and That's also led to our spike in overdose deaths.
And even not capsules, but actual, what they call caplets, I
Yeah, the
guess.
caplets.
A capsule you can put anything in, but
Right.
The caplet not. Let's take this call, then we'll go to a break. 7712, go ahead.
Helen,
Yes.
I talked to you after the show the other day,
Uh-huh.
and I wanted to, I don't know if you can remember, but
Yes.
I was having a little problem
Yes.
with the heat,
Yes.
and what you told me to look for
Uh-huh.
is the only thing that worked. I was
Great.
using aloe vera gel,
Great.
baby oil, Gold Bond and everything, and you said that you told me what to get. I got it within 2 days. My heat rash had gone bye-bye.
Well, great. I'm
And
glad.
so maybe you can do a show on, when it gets hot.
Right.
Some of us that have delicate skin like I do, gets rashes and things. And I know men do too, so he can sit there, he can smile.
That's right, because it's just a simple problem, but I'm glad that worked for you. I got my doctorate degree at Walmart. Where did you get yours?
I've been getting mine on the street here lately.
So I'm glad that worked for you, and appreciate you calling and letting
Okay,
me know.
and could he comment on that new drug that has come out, that even if you just touch it
Oh, yes,
against your skin,
yes.
you can, I guess get sick. I don't know. I don't take nothing more than an aspirin, If I get nervous, people call it anxiety, I get up and I get to working. And I work it out. A lot of ladies, they'll go, oh, and they just sit there and go, oh, I'm getting nervous, I'm getting depressed, and they just keep feeding on it
Yeah,
mentally.
right.
If they would get up and get busy mopping and sweeping those floors, washing those dishes, running up and down, doing their laundry, I swear a lot of them, maybe not all of them, because there is clinical depression, but do you kind of agree with me on that?
I do. That would fit into that other things we can do to help problems,
Yeah,
right?
alternative
Alternative treatments, right.
Yes, I would
Yes.
like to give quite a few people I've met in my life some alternative treatment. I'd love to go to their home and give them a little dose of alternative treatment.
I agree with you 100%.
Okay,
Yes.
and like I said last time, Helen, I believe the older I've been watching you for a long time, the older you're getting, I believe you're going in reverse. You are so pretty.
Well, you're
I
so
told
sweet.
you that the other
Thank
day.
you
I
so
meant
much.
it, and I looked again today. I went, oh my gosh, she's going in reverse.
I was thinking that when I came in. I'm starting to catch up with her in age. We're gonna cross here before long.
Oh, well, she just looks so good, and I just wanted to say that. But maybe you could talk about the ones that you just
Yes.
touch it, and it can go through, absorb
We're-
in your skin and do something to you,
We're
Yeah,
going to talk about that when we come back from this
Okay,
break,
thank
so
you.
just hang on,
Bye-bye.
okay? Thank
Bye.
you. Bye. All right, we're going to go to this break. When we come back, we're going to talk about that drug, so stay with us, and we'll be right back.
We're on the air 24/7. A North Georgia taste of heaven. A fun place to be. And we're your family. UCTV.
For over 4 decades, your neighborhood ShopRite supermarkets have been the standard for quality and service. Locally owned means you'll find a smile on every aisle.
Best meat at the best prices. Farm fresh produce.
Weekly specials on a variety of products.
Get the ShopRite seal of approval. You can't shop wrong at ShopRite.
ShopRite this week, they have ground chuck for $2.49, sirloin tip roast for $2.99, and baby back ribs $3.49. Make some coleslaw to go with that with your green cabbage, 39 cents a pound. Siler's pinto beans, 1 pound bag, 79 cents. They also have the Zatarain's brand all-purpose batter for your fish, the chicken fry batter, and the fish fry. All those breading mixes are only $1.39. And they also have Vidalia onions, a 3-pound bag for $1.69. A 12-ounce bag of green beans, that's fresh green beans, for $1.99. And bell peppers or cucumbers, 79 cents each. And these are just a few of the many bags you'll find this week at your local ShopRite store, where they still take your groceries to the car.
The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time is right now. The same rules apply to financial success. Saving money is the first step towards financial independence. And at the Bank of Lafayette, we have an investment account for every situation. How much you save is not nearly as important as establishing a regular pattern of saving and placing of your money aside in a safe and secure place. Whimsical thinking and immediate gratification can rob you of a financially secure future and a safe and comfortable retirement. At the Bank of Lafayette, we can help you choose an investment account that will help you reach your immediate, short-term, and long-term goals. The one rule that always applies across every economic timeline and condition: the sooner you begin saving, the faster your money will grow. Bank with confidence at the Bank of Lafayette, your hometown bank for more than 110 years. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
At the Rosewood Assisted Living and Memory Care, we have everything your senior could want in a safe, comfortable residence. Several levels of services include short-term housing for weekends or longer, assisted living where the staff provides a watchful eye while preserving your loved one's privacy and dignity, or independent living where residents are able to take care of themselves yet have access to all amenities and a sense of security. And the Rosewood on Battlefield Parkway specializes in memory care for patients of Alzheimer's or dementia. Call today for a tour of our campus.
MetaThrift Pharmacy, located at 324 West Patton Street in Lafayette, across from the ShopRite. MetaThrift Pharmacy provides prescription drugs, including compounded prescriptions. They also have diabetic supplies, including custom diabetic shoes. They have lift chairs, potty chairs, shower seats, and other durable medical equipment. MetaThrift Pharmacy in Lafayette has a friendly, well-trained staff that will help you with your drugstore needs, whether you're on the phone or in the store. You may also leave your refill request on their automated phone system, available 24 hours a day. Make them your choice for your pharmacy needs. MetaThrift Pharmacy, 706-638-3114.
It's the Honeybee Festival 2017 in Lafayette, Georgia, on the square, beginning at 9 a.m. June the 3rd. Folks, there's live music, arts and crafts vendors, food vendors, a barbecue competition, baking contest, cruise-in, antique tractors, the Birds of Prey exhibit from Chattanooga Nature Center, a free kid zone with face painting, games, and inflatables, honeybee and beekeeping tips, exhibits, and demonstrations, and featuring country music superstar Craig Morgan. Also the Stepping Stones, Channing Wilson, Robbie Hopkins, Sons of Sailors, and many other groups. It's free admission and it's sponsored by Pigeon Mountain Trading and CHI Memorial. The Honeybee Festival on the Square, June 3rd in Lafayette.
We're back now. Patrick Doyle joins me, and we just had a funny, anyway. We were talking before we went to break, and Patrick was going to talk about the drug that, what did she say?
The new stuff that can kill you when you touch it.
Right.
And she's referring to fentanyl.
Mm-hmm.
And, well, there's fentanyl, and now there's carfentanil that's hitting the streets. And carfentanil is even stronger than
okay,
fentanyl.
now what is carfentanil?
Carfentanil is a horse tranquilizer. Well, it's not even a horse tranquilizer. I think they refer to it more as an elephant tranquilizer because it takes just a very little bit to tranquilize an elephant. And it's basically a stronger form of fentanyl. And fentanyl is hundreds of times stronger than even heroin is. And probably the biggest difference in the fentanyl and the heroin and some of these opiate and opioid pills is the fact that it can be absorbed through your skin. Mm-hmm. So if you touch it, if you get some on you, you can start feeling the effects almost immediately from the fentanyl, and it takes a very, very small amount to be even to kill you. So we're finding pills that have been pressed locally that look like oxycodone or roxycodones that contain none of the opioids, but they do contain fentanyl. And it takes such a very, very small amount of that. It has to be measured in micrograms. And in order to have the equipment to measure something in micrograms, it has to be pharmaceutical grade, basically.
Have a laboratory.
Have a real laboratory, and we suspect that these things are being pressed in somebody's basement or their garage, and we know that they're not being pressed in a laboratory. Some of them are being shipped here from overseas. We had a case a few years ago back in Lafayette. These pills were getting shipped to Lafayette from Afghanistan. They were going from Afghanistan to China, and then they were getting shipped to Lafayette. And when we got the crime lab reports back from those, a lot of those actually had heroin in them. But now, like I said, we're seeing the fentanyl that's creeping up in the home press pills. And that's not just a danger to the people that are using it and not knowing that they're getting fentanyl instead of the opioids, which they shouldn't be getting anyway. But it's dangerous to law enforcement, and just like the lady said, it can kill you just from touching it. And we recognize that, and we're having to take safety precautions every time we go into a drug house nowadays.
Would you show the?
Yeah, this is Narcan. I don't know if he can zoom in on this, and this is a small single dose that we're having to carry. Each individual agent at the Drug Task Force has their own supply of Narcan now. And basically what this is an antidote for opioids, for accidental exposure to opioids. This is the same stuff that paramedics give overdose victims, and we're now having to carry it in our medical bags for Drug Task Force agents in case we get accidental exposure to fentanyl or any of the other opioids that are out there.
And that's a nasal spray that you would use immediately.
It is. Yeah, and you know, whether you've got Narcan or not, you know, it's a medical condition as soon as you are exposed to some of this stuff, and it has to be treated like a poisoning. So even after using Narcan, you're not exempt from going to the emergency room. You're going to have to go get further treatment from that. But this is just first step in saving lives, and hopefully I never have to use it, but it's better to have it and not use it than to not have it and need it.
Absolutely.
So we've got it, and we've got it supplied to our agents, and there are several law enforcement agencies in the region now that are carrying this stuff just for street level patrolmen.
That doesn't work after you're dead, right?
Doesn't work after you're dead. No, know, after you're dead, there's not a whole lot that can work. So this has to be done very quickly when somebody does overdose or accidentally overdose or is exposed to it accidentally, and so we keep these on hand.
I was sharing with Patrick on the Atlanta News just this past week, there was a prominent photographer and model. Both of them had been found, both dead, from heroin that had been laced with the fentanyl, and they both died of overdose. And it looked like just an immediate, one was just slumped down in the floor with the straw is still in their hand, I mean, just in the process, and they just died right in the process of
we
taking
had
the drugs.
We had a case here locally where somebody had gone to their drug dealer and picked up some pills, what they believed were oxycodone, and he took a couple, and I think he just took one, and he immediately recognized that it didn't taste like the pills that he was used to taking. And the next thing he knew, he was waking up in the emergency room after getting hit with Narcan a couple of times here at Cornerstone.
All right, 7712, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am, I just got a couple questions.
Go ahead.
It's not about drugs. One of your sponsors that Pickler's Produce,
Uh-huh.
they never have a phone number on there. Do you have a phone number for them, or?
You'll have to call the station, 866-3677.
That's where?
Call the station office. You're on the air now.
Right.
866-3677.
I appreciate all your help.
Uh-huh, thank you. Okay. Go ahead with what you were saying.
Yeah, well, you continue talking about the fentanyl stuff. They're saying even heroin, if it's weak heroin, some of the drug dealers actually adding a little bit of the fentanyl to the heroin before they put it on the street. Some of the, heroin's always been a big city problem. Of course, it's starting to creep into the areas like here. But you're seeing the overdose rates in states, Ohio comes to mind right now because they're having such a huge problem. Ohio's actually got temporary morgues set up in different areas of the state to keep up with the overdose deaths. They don't have enough morgue space.
Wow.
And bad batches of drugs. This stuff does come out in bad batches when they put it out on the street, and it's easy to figure out where a bad batch is on the street because there are people dropping dead at alarming rates.
Let me see if I understand this. Now, the fentanyl is inexpensive.
Mm-hmm.
So if they have weak heroin, which means it's not as potent as they would like it to be,
Right.
they add a little bit to this.
You can add a little bit to it,
It's
right?
kind of like if they don't have the proper measuring equipment, and we already established that since this is all done outside of a laboratory,
Right.
a little bit is maybe way too much. So probably all of the addition is going to be way too much. So
Right.
anytime you get anything that's laced with anything, you really increase your chances of an overdose tremendously.
Right, and these people unfortunately are so addicted that this doesn't cross their mind when they go to their drug dealer to get this stuff. Their addiction says that they've got to have it, and whether or not they trust their drug dealer, I mean, you're trusting a criminal,
Right.
for the most part. So they're going to get it one way or another, and that's where the ODs. That's where they occur. These people are putting their trust in the wrong people, and they're getting a substance that they don't know where it came from, who manufactured it, what kind of controls they use to manufacture it. Not to mention that it's illegal to begin with, but is this somebody that has pharmaceutical grade equipment to be able to properly measure this stuff, or do they use grandma's recipe and just put a pinch in there?
Just
Add to taste.
dump and pour.
Yeah, that's right. Add to taste. You see
Yeah.
that in a lot of recipes
Yeah.
on the salt. Add to taste.
So, and most often probably don't even know that it's in there.
No, I wouldn't think that they would know. I wouldn't think that in fact, the street level dealer may not even know that it's
Right.
in there. Probably has no idea. This comes from bigger sources, bulk sources that are shipped in from other places, and nobody really knows what's in that stuff or who's had their hand in it before it gets to the street level. So that's something that people need to think about.
So that's a lot to consider.
Yeah, it is, and it's come, the heroin, we know that it's coming from thousands of miles away from here, and it goes through many, many hands before it gets down to the street level, so.
It's right up there with Russian roulette.
Yeah, have no idea what's happened to that stuff in between shipment and street level.
You could be dead in 2 seconds.
Yep, sure can.
So, wow.
And the fentanyl
really
is going to increase. This stuff is it's coming across the border, primarily on Mexican black market. And I'm not saying that the Mexicans are the ones that are producing it. Mexico's got a little more open trade than we do as far as this stuff coming into the country. like the pseudoephedrine, for instance. Back in the day, when all the meth labs were going on in this area, we made it hard for the pseudoephedrine to hit the streets, and it's still difficult for the pseudo to hit the streets. But in Mexico, they can order it straight from the manufacturer in China or wherever, and it comes in bulk in Mexico, even though they've got laws down there that prohibit such things. But our unsecured border down there for a couple thousand miles is just a breeding ground for this stuff to cross in and ultimately end up here.
And we have to deal with it.
Yeah, we have to deal with it.
We have to deal with it.
Don't know what the answer is going to be, and one of these days, one of your viewers is going to call in with the answer, and all this problem will be solved. But
That's
right
right.
now, we don't know what the answer is.
That's right. We didn't get it today.
No, we haven't got it yet. They still
No,
got a minute.
That's right. We may still get it in the last few minutes.
That's right.
But we haven't gotten it yet. A lot of good comments, but no answers for the
Not yet.
problem. Are the prescription drugs a gateway to these drugs, Patrick? Have you seen any?
Well, they're so similar in chemical makeup, and I've said this before on some of the other shows, the tighter grip that we get on the illegal prescription drugs hitting the street, and by illegal I mean prescription diversion.
Right.
The tighter grip we get on prescription diversion, the bigger increase we're going to see in heroin moving into this area. And that's simply because the heroin is a cheap alternative. It's already illegal, so it's not being prescribed. It's kind of like the meth. You see shipments of meth coming in, or the ice, the Mexican ice. It replaced the stuff that we were cooking locally in our meth labs. Well, when the prescription pills dry up, then the heroin is going to move in. These people that run these cartels, they're business people, and they recognize an opening for a profit, and they're going to do what they've got to do to make that profit. And they're going to see that, hey, they're not able to get their opioids in northwest Georgia like they used to, so let's flood the market with a little bit of heroin and see what happens. It's going to fill that void. It's kind of like the gentleman that called in earlier talking about the clinics, people that couldn't get their opioids going to the clinics to fill that void. They know how to fill that void.
Wherever it is, you're going to find yourself there.
That's right.
To avail yourself of whatever the need is. Yeah.
It's a vicious cycle, and we always, years ago, we used to joke around, and when we were looking down the road to see what was next, when crack cocaine hit so heavy back in the 80s, gosh, what's worse than crack cocaine? Well, here comes meth, and it was worse, and then we're thinking to ourselves, instant death, is that going to be the next thing? And it looks like that's what's coming. That's what we're being faced with right now.
Yeah. Of all those drugs, which do you think is the worst, Patrick?
Oh gosh, I think they all are right now. But cocaine, we don't see much cocaine. Back in the day, we used to see a lot of overdose deaths on cocaine, especially the people that were freebasing. Methamphetamine, they say you can't overdose on methamphetamine. It's not really a fact. It's a contributing factor to other causes. Your heart giving out,
right.
and
just wearing out.
Yeah, but as far as gonna kill you quick, it's definitely the opioids. Definitely the opioids. The meth and cocaine, it will ruin your life over a period of time, but the opioids, they take your life just that quick. And so I've got to say that's probably the worst.
We just seem to get ourselves in worse shape with every step.
We do.
It just seems
and now,
to get worse. Everything just is a little worse than the thing before.
Yeah, a little bit worse. And there's always something. There's always something coming down the pike that's going to be next. Had somebody mention crocodile during the commercial break, and we haven't seen that yet. Thank goodness, knock on wood. But it's out there, and it may rear its ugly head in the local market soon. So.
And who knows when it's going to do that. That's right. We have one more call, 7712. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've got a question about the mail order prescriptions. My insurance, I'm on Medicare and I've got a supplemental policy for the prescriptions, but they try to get me to do mail order, and some of it's going to come from Canada. I'm not sure I trust anything that would come from Canada, because I don't think they investigate as much as the United States does. And a lot of drugs are coming from Canada because the border is easier to cross.
Yeah, well, it's easier to cross, and some of the pharmaceutical manufacturers in Canada, the stuff is so much cheaper up there. I'm not real sure of the legality of these prescriptions coming from Canada, not to mention the trustworthiness. Yeah, I'd investigate that and do a little questioning first. You would think that it would be required that it came from here.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to do it, but, I want to go to a pharmacy I trust. I use a local one he's very trustworthy. I would know him. I just don't want to throw names. But, if you're dealing with somebody through the mail, first off, somebody could steal them.
Well, that's true.
Yeah,
That's
and
true.
you're not getting that hand-to-hand, face-to-face contact with them. You don't really know your source.
That's right. Can't call them up and talk to them very easily either. So if you have a problem,
Well, I just wondered if you knew anything about it. Like I said, I'm not going to do it, but it saves the insurance company money, so they want you to do it.
That's all they're concerned about. That's right.
Well, that's like street dealers. They don't care whether you live or die. They just want money.
That's right. It's all about them, nothing about you.
Okay.
Appreciate you calling.
All right, we're going to have to take this other call when we go off the air. Rick said we got to go, so we'll see you again next week for What Women and Men Need to Know. And Patrick, thank you so much for being here to enlighten us about this horrible thing. But we all do need to know, and if we can each do something to help, we want to do that. But we got to find out what that is.
That's right. It's always my pleasure to be on. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick.